The history of liberalism is complicated and confusing, which makes it hard to accurately explain what exactly happens when. But here is my interpretation of it. The Enlightenment was a time period between 1685 and 1815. During these years, people questioned the role of government and the king, as well as the class system. Society was divided into three main groups of people: the peasants, the nobles, and the clergy, with the majority of people being part of the peasants group. Individuals who were rich and well-connected were able to experience firsthand the style of government in place. They began to philosophize about how society could better be run. They all had very different ideas and inspired many citizens. Adam Smith was a philosopher who believed that less government involvement would lead to more individual freedom. His philosophy is commonly referred to as the invisible hand, and the Nouvelle Riche were big fans of his ideas. He wrote a book titled The Wealth of Nations and argued two main points: that the strength of nations depended on goods produced, not gold, and laws and restrictions hindered rather than promoted economic growth. The Industrial Revolution began around 1760 and ended sometime between 1820 and 1840. Thousands of new innovations caused major economic growth. The factory system also emerged during this time. The factory system created many job opportunities, so people moved to be near the new factories. However, the laissez-faire government allowed employers to take advantage of their workers. Even though some individuals were able to work to increase their social status, many workers were abused and paid poorly. John Stuart Mills was another influential philosopher. He recognized the wealth gap that was a result of classical liberalism and created a hypothesis that the government should play a small part in running society to help equalize citizens. However, he also supported individualism, so he concluded that individuals should be free unless they hurt others, and then the government should step in. John Locke believed that people were naturally good, and the government's purpose was to preserve and enlarge freedom, not to abolish or restrain. Citizens would have a high level of power over their own lives and the ability to overthrow the government if it represented them unjustly. John Locke influenced the American Revolution, and many of his ideas were included in their Constitution. The American Revolution occurred between 1765 and 1783. In 1774, American colonies began to protest the increased taxes that were imposed on them by Britain. Eventually, the American Revolution created an independent country with a constitution influenced by both John Locke and the Aboriginal people of North America. Montesquieu believed that government was necessary, but if it had absolute power, it would lead to corruption. Therefore, the branches of government should be separated to allow them to keep each other in check. Montesquieu was one of the philosophers who encouraged French nationalists and ultimately the French Revolution. The French Revolution was officially in 1789, but the underlying causes began several years earlier. The French Revolution was a response to many factors occurring in France before 1798, such as the class system, the power of the king, and environmental factors. As a result of this revolution, contemporary nationalism was born, the old regime was overthrown, and the National Assembly was set up, followed by the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Napoleonic Code. Up until now, liberalism has been mainly classical. The government is involved very little or not at all, which could be referred to as capitalism. It has been influenced by all the elements went over so far: the Enlightenment, the philosophers who emerged from the Enlightenment, and the revolutions that were influenced by philosophers' ideas. Many people recognize the faults and failures that came with classical liberalism and continue to create their own ideas that caused liberalism to continue to evolve.